Hi, today we will cover Essay 300 and Essay 400 series as we had done Essay 200 series in the previous one. So let's quickly begin. Essay 300, Planning and Audit of Financial Statements. Now, what is the scope of Essay 300? It deals with the auditor's responsibilities as to planning and audit of financial statements in the context of recurring audit. Now, for initial audit engagement, additional considerations have been provided in this particular essay. Let's talk about the requirements of Essay 300. So, first of all, you will have to involve the engagement team members. Now, why are you involving the engagement team members at the planning stage? Because their participation helps you to get the benefit of their expertise and also increases the efficiency and effectiveness of audit. Understood? Why are you involving the engagement team members into the planning stage? Because their involvement helps you to ensure that their expertise and the audit efficiency and effectiveness can be increased. Okay, now what do you mean by the preliminary engagement activities? Or this is also one of the requirements of Essay 300, that you have to do the preliminary engagement activities. Now what does this mean? First of all, you will have to perform the procedures that have been mentioned in Essay 220 with respect to the client continuance relationship, that is whether you will like to continue this particular client for this year or not. Okay, all the procedures will be conducted as per what? As per Essay 220. Secondly, you will have to evaluate the compliance of ethical requirements, including the independence as also required by Essay 220. What are the ethical requirements? IP Corp, as I had already discussed this with you when we were revising Essay 220. Third point is establish an understanding of terms of engagement with the client as per the requirement of Essay 210. Okay. Next, planning activities. Now, first of all, you will have to establish an audit strategy. Now, to establish an audit strategy, what will you do? You will have to establish or you will have to determine the scope, timing and direction of audit, and this will help you to guide the development of an overall audit plan. Now, what factors are required to be considered in establishing an audit strategy? First of all, the characteristics of engagement. Secondly, the reporting objectives. Third one is the significant efforts in directing the work of engagement team members. Fourth, result of preliminary engagement activities. Fifth, nature, timing and extent of procedures planned to be performed. Now, let's talk about the development of audit plan. Audit plan shall include what? It will include the description of three things. First of all, the nature, timing and extent of risk assessment procedures as are required by Essay 315. Second, the NTE of planned responses to the assessed risks as required by Essay 330. Further audit procedures like test of control, test of details, substantial analytical procedures. Next is other planned audit procedures that are required to carry out so as to ensure the compliance with essays. All this will be there in what? In the audit plan. Next is documentation. So, auditor will have to document his audit strategy, his audit plan, and also the significant changes in the strategy and plan along with reasons if any. For example, in case while during the audit you need to revise your strategy, you need to revise your audit plan, in that case you will have to document the significant changes taking place on a later stage along with the reasons for the changes. Next, documents containing the details of procedures to be performed, details of the engagement team members involved, timing of audit, etc. are known as the audit program. Now, changes to planning decisions. Planning is not a discrete phase, as you all know. It is a continuous process. It starts from the end of previous या फिर last year audit and continues till the completion of current audit engagements. Now, auditor को update करना होता है, change करना होता है अपने overall audit strategy को and thereby his overall audit plan as necessary during the course of audit. बिकॉज आप जैसे जैसे प्रोसीजर्स परफॉर्म करते हो उसके बेसिस पर आपको कुछ नई फाइंडिंग्स मिलती रहती हैं एंड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दैट यू हैव टू कंटिन्यूसली रिवाइज योर ऑडिट स्ट्रैटेजी एंड योर प्लान्स. नाउ चेंजेस हैव टू बी मेड अलॉन्ग विद द रीजंस एंड दीज changes and the reasons have to be documented properly. Now, changes may be required. Why? Because of three things. First of all, the unexpected events happening. Secondly, the changes in conditions. Third is the audit evidences obtained as a result of of audit procedures. These can be the possible reasons why you are changing your overall strategy and plan, because of which you will have to document the same as well. Next is additional considerations in case of initial audit engagement. So for an initial audit, the auditor may need to expand the planning activities as he does not have the previous experience with the entity. Obviously baat hai, because it's your initial audit engagement, so you don't have any prior experience with the entity, thereby you will have to perform some additional procedures. Now the auditor should consider the following in case of initial audit engagement. What are these pointers? First one is, unless prohibited by law and regulation, arrangements to be made with the predecessor auditor to review his working papers. Second, audit procedures to be performed with respect to opening balances as prescribed by SA 510. Third is procedures required by SA 220 with respect to client acceptance relationship or engagement quality control review, etc. Because it's the initial audit, तो यहाँ पर client acceptance की बात हो रही है. Next point is other major issues to be discussed with the management, like initial selections, communication of matters with the TCWG, and some other aspects that may affect the audit strategy or the audit plan. This is all about SA 300. SA 315, identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatements through understanding the entity and its environment. So the name of this essay is very self-explanatory. यहाँ पर आपको क्या करना है, you have to identify the risk of material misstatements, then you will have to assess the risk of material misstatements, and this will be done how? This will be done by understanding the entity and its environment. So what is the scope of SA 315? The essay requires the auditor the following things. First of all, the essay requires you to identify and assess the risks of material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error, at the financial statement level and at the assertion level. Secondly, you have to understand the entity and its environment, including the entity's internal controls. Third one is to design and implement the responses to the assessed risks of material misstatements. Now, what do you mean by the risk assessment procedures? So, risk assessment procedures are performed to obtain an understanding of the entity, its environment, including the internal control. So the procedures that you perform to obtain the understanding of the entity and its environment, including the internal controls, so as to identify and assess the risk of material misstatements at the financial statements level and the assertion level, is known as the risk assessment procedure. Now, risk assessment procedure can be performed through inquiry, inspection, observation, analytical procedures. Any of these can be used as a risk assessment procedure. Now, what do you mean by understanding the entity and its environment and internal controls? So for this, there are some general points that are used for any entity, and there are some points specific to CIS environment. Now, first of all, let's discuss the general pointers. So first one is, you have to see the framework, the financial reporting framework, the industrial regulatory framework. Secondly, you will have to see the nature of the entity, which includes its operations, its ownership and governance structures, the type of investments that the entity is making and is planning to make in future, the way that the entity is structured and how it is financed. Next is the selection and application of the accounting policies and the reasons for the changes, if any, taking place. Then strategies, objectives, mission, vision, etc. Review and measurement of the financial performance, the internal controls which are relevant to audit. All this will help you to understand the entity and its environment, including its internal controls. Now, when there is an environment, CIS environment, then there are some specific things that you need to do. First of all, you will have to see the program development and maintenance. So secondly, you will have to see the system software support that is being provided. Third is the computer operations, including processing of data. Fourth one is physical CIS security, then controls over access to CIS utility programs. All this has to be seen in a CIS environment. Now, what do you mean by risk of material misstatement? So, risk that the auditor may express an inappropriate opinion when the financial statements are materially misstated is known as the risk of material misstatement. The risk of material misstatement is a function of two components. First one is the inherent risk and second one is the control risk. When I talk about inherent risk is the susceptibility, that is the chances of an account balance, transaction or balances to material misstatement, presuming that related stated internal controls do not exist. That is non-existence of the internal controls. ठीक है. Second one is control risk. Control risk is that the internal controls fail to prevent, detect and correct the material misstatements on a timely basis. That means internal controls are there, but they are not functioning properly. That means there is a deficiency of internal controls. First case में internal controls थे ही नहीं, सेकेंड वाले केस में इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स तो हैं बट वो अपना काम सही से नहीं कर रहे. ठीक है. सो दो रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ टू कंपोनेंट्स. फर्स्ट वन इज द इनहेरेंट रिस्क एंड सेकेंड वन इज द कंट्रोल रिस्क. नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट असेसमेंट ऑफ रिस्क. ऑडिटर इज रिक्वायर्ड टू असेस द रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट at two levels, that is one at financial statement level and second one at the assertion level. Now when I talk about the financial statement level, so the risk that relate pervasively to the financial statements and may affect many assertions is known as assessment of risk of material misstatement at the financial statement level. Now when I talk about the assertion level, so risk that relate to individual transactions, account balances and disclosures, it is known as the assertion level. Now let's discuss about assessment of risk at financial statement level in detail. Okay, so at financial statement level, the risk relates pervasively to the financial statements as a whole and potentially affects many assertions. Risk at the financial statement level may derive in particular from deficient control environment. When the control environment is deficient, which means that the internal controls are weak, because of which there is a high chance कि financial statements as a whole काफ़ी ज़्यादा आपकी risk of material misstatement से prone हो सकती है. Although these risks may also relate to other factors such as declining economic conditions, but still you will have to see if the control environment is deficient, then there are chances of risk of material misstatements at financial level. For example, management's lack of competence. Next, the auditor's understanding of the internal controls may raise doubts about the auditability of an entity's financial statements because there may be concerns about the integrity of the entity's management because they might be so strong, they might be so serious, जिसकी वजह से ऑडिटर को ऐसा लगे कि दैट द रिस्क ऑफ मैनेजमेंट मिसरिप्रेजेंटेशन इन द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स इज सो मच दैट द ऑडिट कैन नॉट बी कंडक्टेड, और देयर आर कंसर्न्स अबाउट द कंडीशन एंड रिलायबिलिटी ऑफ एन एंटिटीज रिकॉर्ड्स मे कॉज द ऑडिटर टू कंक्लूड दैट इट इज अनलाइकली that the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences will be available to support an unqualified opinion on the financial statements. If the records are not reliable, then obviously financial statements पर ओपिनियन देना भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा डिफिकल्ट हो जाएगा. सफिशिएंट एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंसेस गैदर करना भी काफ़ी डिफिकल्ट हो जाएगा. नाउ इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द असेसमेंट ऑफ रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट्स एट द असर्शन लेवल, सो द रिस्क फॉर क्लासेस ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शंस, अकाउंट बैलेंसेस एंड डिस्क्लोजर्स directly assist in determining the NTE of further audit procedures at the assertion level, which are necessary to obtain the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences. Now let's talk about more about assessment of risk of material misstatements. So assessment of risk of material misstatements helps the auditor in determining the NTE of further audit procedures. Assertions to be evaluated के अंदर with respect to transactions कौन सी assertions होती हैं, account balances के लिए कौन सी assertions होती हैं और disclosures के लिए कौन सी assertions होती हैं specifically, तो उनके बारे में हम फटाफट से discuss कर लेते हैं. With respect to transactions, you have to see the occurrence of transaction, the completeness, accuracy, cutoff, classification. Now for account balances, you have to see the existence, whether the account balance exists or not, whether whose rights and obligations are there in that particular account balances, complete है या नहीं, valuation सही से हुआ है या नहीं, allocation सही से हुआ है या नहीं. With respect to disclosures, you have to see the occurrence, rights and obligations, completeness, classification, understandable है या नहीं, accuracy, valuation, all this has to be seen. All these assertions have to be seen with respect to disclosures. Okay. नेक्स्ट हमारे पास आ जाता है रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसेस. रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसेस की बात करें तो देयर आर 4 stages ऑफ रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसेस. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई द रिस्क ऑफ you will have to identify the risk. Okay, but how are you going to do that? You are going to do that by understanding the entity and its environment. Secondly, you'll have to assess the identified risk and determine whether the risk relates pervasively to the financial statements. Now after this, you'll have to relate the identified risk at the assertion level so as to ascertain what can go wrong. Now at stage 4, you will have to see the likelihood of misstatements in the financial statement. Okay. Now, risk that requires special consideration. So, for example, in the auditor's judgment, or he thinks that there is a risk and that risk is significant, how will you see that the risk is significant? How you are going to decide? This will be purely based on your judgment as an auditor. Now for this judgment to make, you will consider some pointers. For example, if you see a risk, you'll have to evaluate whether this is a risk of fraud, whether there are chances of risk of fraud in a particular transaction, account balance or disclosure, whatever it may be. You'll have to see whether this risk pertains to risk of fraud. Secondly, whether this risk is related to recent significant accounting or economic or other developments, whether it is so. You'll have to see based upon the complexity of transactions. If the transactions are complex enough, you'll have to see whether there are chances of any material misstatements in that particular transaction. Next is risk involves significant transactions with the related parties. For example, there are transactions with the related party. You'll have to see whether this significant transaction raises a doubt in your mind that whether there are chances of fraud in this or whether there are chances of material misstatements in this. Next is accounting estimates, judgment, subjectivity and measurement. यहाँ पर already management की judgment involved होती है, तो आपको भी देखना पड़ेगा कि यहाँ पर ऑब्वियसली बात है रिस्क ऑफ मटीरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट्स होने के चांसेस भी ज़्यादा हो सकते हैं. तो यू हैव टू सी उनकी जजमेंट के जो उन्होंने जजमेंट ली है वो किन अजम्पशंस पर ली है, उसके हिसाब से यू आर गोइंग टू डिसाइड वेदर देयर आर चांसेस ऑफ रिस्क ऑफ मटीरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट और नॉट. नाउ नेक्स्ट इज involvement of there are significant unusual transactions, so there might be chances of risk. You'll have to consider all these pointers while applying your judgment whether the risk is significant or not. Next, internal controls. What do you mean by internal controls? So internal controls are the policies and procedures which are designed, implemented and maintained by the management, ECWG or the other personnel. Why is it done so? It is done to obtain the reasonable assurance as to the achievement of entities' objectives with respect to availability of reliable financial information, compliance of laws and regulations, safeguarding of assets and prevention and detection of fraud and error. बिकॉज अगर ये सब हुआ होगा तभी ऑडिटर आपकी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स के ऊपर अनक्वालिफाइड ओपिनियन दे पाएगा. अगर आपके फाइनेंशियल इन्फॉर्मेशन रिलायबल होगा तभी वो अपना ऑडिट कंटिन्यू कर पाएगा. लॉज एंड रेगुलेशंस का कंप्लायंस हुआ होगा तो भी वो कंटिन्यू कर पाएगा. आपके एसेट सेफ गार्डेड होंगे तो रिस्क कम होता है. आप फ्रॉड और एरर को प्रिवेंट करने के लिए, डिटेक्ट करने के लिए इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स लगा रहे हो तो ऑब्वियसली बात है अगर आपके इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स अच्छे होंगे तो ऑडिटर का काम भी थोड़ा सा कम हो जाता है. नेक्स्ट, components of internal controls. So components of internal controls की बात करें तो there are total 5 components. First one is control environment, second one is the information system, third is control activities relevant to audit, then entity risk assessment process, then monitoring. Let's discuss all these components in detail one by one. Let's talk about control environment first. So it includes the following elements. What are these elements? First of all, the communication and enforcement of integrity and ethical values, commitment to competence, participation by TCWG, management philosophy and operating style, organizational structure, assignment of authority and responsibility, human resources, policies and practices. HR policies and practices जिन्हें हम कहते हैं शॉर्ट में. तो ये सारे आपके क्या होते हैं, कंट्रोल एनवायरनमेंट का पार्ट बन जाते हैं. लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसेस. सो दिस फॉर्म्स द बेसिस for how the management determines the risks to be managed. If that process is appropriate to the circumstances, including the nature, size and complexity of the entity. Now, it assists the auditor in identifying the risk of material misstatements. The risk can arise or change due to below mentioned circumstances. Now, what are these circumstances? First of all, there are changes in the regulatory or operating environment, recruitment of new personnel रिक्रूट किया जाता है तो चांसेस होते हैं गलतियां होने के. यू विल हैव टू सी दैट. न्यू और रिवैम्प्ड इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम्स यूज़ करने में डिफ़िकल्टी हो सकती है. नया इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम लगा है. सिग्निफिकेंट एंड रैपिड एक्सपेंशन ऑफ ऑपरेशंस, incorporating new technologies into production processes. An entity has little experience in the business areas which it is entering into, corporate restructurings, expansion or acquisition of foreign operations, adoption of new accounting principles or changing accounting principles. All these are the circumstances जिस केस में आपका रिस्क बढ़ भी सकता है और हो सकता है नया रिस्क अराइज हो जाए. So auditor will consider all these things. Next is the information system. So what are the areas to be examined? The information system relevant to financial reporting objectives, which includes the accounting system, consists of procedures and records designed and established to initiate, record, process and report the entity's transactions. Second one is to resolve the incorrect processing of transaction. Third is the processing and accounting for system overrides or bypasses the controls. So whatever controls have been placed, आपका जो accounting system आपने लगाया है, information system लगाया है, वो उसको override कर जाता है, bypass कर जाता है, तो आपके controls बेकार हो जाएंगे. Next, transfer information from transaction processing systems to the general ledger. Next is capture information relevant to financial reporting for events and conditions other than transactions, such as the depreciation and amortization of assets, and to ensure information required to be disclosed by the applicable FRF is accumulated, recorded, processed, summarized and appropriately reported in the financial statements. So whenever you are talking about the information system ऐसा होना चाहिए, whenever you are talking specifically about those information systems which are relevant to financial reporting, तो उसके लिए financial reporting का मतलब क्या होता है? कोई transaction होगी तो transaction initiate होगी, फिर record होगी, फिर process होगी, फिर आपको उसको report करना पड़ता है. तो वही चीज़ के बारे में यहाँ पर दिया हुआ है, आपको वही सारी चीज़ें चेक करनी है. क्या transactions की processing सही से हो रही है या नहीं हो रही, आपने जो भी information ली है वो सही ली है या नहीं ली, जो इन्फॉर्मेशन आपको एज अ ट्रांजैक्शन नहीं होती, फॉर एग्जांपल डेप्रिसिएशन आपको खुद से लगाना पड़ता है, इसका कोई आपके पास बिल थोड़ी ना आता है ना, तो ये सारी चीज़ें वो उसमें हो पा रही हैं या नहीं हो पा रही हैं, ऑल दिस हैज़ टू बी सीन. मतलब इसमें आपका ये इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स का पार्ट बन जाता है, बिकॉज इट इज़ वन ऑफ द कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स. नेक्स्ट हमारे पास आ जाता है कंट्रोल एक्टिविटीज़ रेलिवेंट टू ऑडिट. तो पॉलिसीज एंड प्रोसीजर्स दैट हेल्प इंश्योर दैट द मैनेजमेंट डायरेक्टर्स आर कैरीड आउट एंड मे पर्टेन टू फॉलोइंग. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल द परफॉर्मेंस रिव्यूज, इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोसेसिंग, फिजिकल कंट्रोल, सेग्रीगेशन ऑफ ड्यूटीज़. लास्ट वन इज द मॉनिटरिंग ऑफ कंट्रोल्स. कंट्रोल्स जितने मर्जी लगा लो, अगर मॉनिटर नहीं करोगे तो प्रॉब्लम होगी. सो प्रोसेस टू assess the effectiveness of internal control performance over time. It involves assessing the effectiveness of controls on a timely basis and taking necessary corrective actions. Okay, let's talk about the risk to internal controls which are imposed by the information technology. Now, reliance on systems or programs that are inaccurately processing the data, processing inaccurate data or both. देखो, प्रोसेसिंग इनएक्यूरेटली हो रही है या फिर इनएक्यूरेट डेटा की प्रोसेसिंग हो रही है, दोनों ही केस में काम खराब हो जाएगा. तो इसीलिए आप उन सिस्टम्स पर, प्रोग्राम्स पर अगर रिलाई कर देते हो जो ये गड़बड़ कर रहे हैं, तो डेफिनेटली दिस इज अ रिस्क टू इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स. सेकेंड वन इज द अनऑथराइज्ड एक्सेस टू डेटा may result in destruction of data, improper changes in data, recording of unauthorized or non-existent transactions, inaccurate recording of transactions. Now, particular risk may arise when multiple users access a common database. पता ही नहीं चलेगा कौन changes करके चला गया, right? So this is what? This is also a risk. Next is the possibility of information technology personnel gaining access beyond those necessary to perform their assigned duties, thereby breaking down the segregation of duties. अगर उनके पास access होगा beyond which is required, तो उस केस में भी क्या होगा, उस केस में भी आप segregation of duties के अपने रूल को ब्रेक कर दोगे, जिसकी वजह से आपका इंटरनल कंट्रोल ब्रेक हो गया. नेक्स्ट, अनऑथराइज्ड चेंजेस टू द डेटा इन मास्टर फाइल्स परमानेंटली चेंज हो जाएगा. अनऑथराइज्ड चेंजेस टू सिस्टम्स और प्रोग्राम्स, failure to make necessary changes to systems or programs, inappropriate manual intervention, potential loss to data or inability to access the data as required. All these are risks to internal controls which are imposed by information technology. Right, so this is all about SA 315. We have completed the whole standard. Next standard is SA 330. पहले कर लेते हैं. 330 के बाद हम SA 320 कर लेंगे तो ज़्यादा बेटर होगा. ठीक है, तो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद SA 330. SA 330 responses to the assessed risk. SA 330 requires the auditor to design and perform the audit procedures which are appropriate to the assessed risk for the purpose of collection of sufficient and appropriate audit evidences. Now, the audit procedures can be classified into two categories. First one is the test of control. Second one is the substantive. Substantive के अंदर we have two classifications. First one is the test of details, and second one is the substantive analytical procedures. Now let's talk about test of controls in detail. Now the procedures which are designed to evaluate the operating effectiveness of the controls in preventing, detection and correction of material misstatements at the assertion level for transaction, account balances and disclosures is known as the test of controls. Okay, now through these procedures the auditor collects the evidence as to the application of controls, consistency of controls, and by whom and by what means the controls are applied. The audit evidences collected may indicate the auditor about the existence and effectiveness of the internal control. So जो भी audit evidences collect होंगे उससे auditor को क्या पता चलेगा कि जो internal controls हैं वो exist भी करते हैं and they are existing effectively, they are operating effectively. Now if the internal controls exist and they are operating effectively, then the auditor is required to design substantive procedures accordingly, which may be less extensive. Why? Because the internal controls exist and they are operating effectively as well. So in this case, definitely the substantive procedures can be less extensive. However, if the audit evidences collected indicates that the internal controls does not exist or they exist but they are deficient, then the auditor should design more extensive substantive procedures. ठीक है. Now communicate the weakness if identified in the internal controls to the management and the TCWG as per the requirement of SA 260 and SA 265. You all know all these essays. Now specific or special considerations with respect to internal controls. Now using the audit evidence obtained during the interim period, if you are using the audit evidences which have been obtained during the interim period, then the auditor should obtain the audit evidence for significant changes which have occurred subsequent to the interim period. Now after this you'll have to determine the additional procedures to be performed and the additional evidences to be obtained for the remaining period. Now if you are using the audit evidences obtained during the prior period, that is previous audit, okay, now in this case you will establish the continuing relevance of the evidences that have been obtained during the audit of prior period by determining the significant changes that have occurred subsequent to the prior period. If the significant changes occur, perform the test of controls in current period. Obviously बात है significant changes हैं तो आपके पुराना वाला test of control काम नहीं करेगा. You'll have to perform it again. Now if no significant changes have been there, then perform once in 3 years with few tests every year. Clear? Now what are the factors warranting the retesting of controls, that you have to retest the controls? ऐसे कौन से factors हैं जो आपको बता रहे हैं कि आपको controls को retest कर लेना चाहिए? ठीक है. So if you are relying on the audit evidences which have been obtained in the previous audit for controls, then how will you determine that you should rely on the audit evidences which have been obtained in the previous audit? How are you going to decide that? That is purely based on your professional judgment. Similarly, the length of time between the retesting of such controls will also depend upon your professional judgment. Okay. Now, if we talk about the factors, so there are 3 मेन पॉइंट्स जिसको मैंने मतलब इसमें बेसिकली क्या था, डेफिशिएंट वर्ड बार बार यूज़ हो रहा था, चेंजेस वर्ड बार बार यूज़ हो रहा था, तो मैंने इसको एक ही वर्ड कंसिडर करके इसके फर्दर पॉइंट्स बना दिए just to revise or just to remember these pointers easily. If I talk about the deficient point, if there is a deficiency of control environment, definitely this shows कि आपके जो internal controls हैं उसकी आपको retesting कर लेनी चाहिए. Why? Because control environment is one of the components of internal control. अगर यही deficient है तो chances है कि internal controls भी deficient होंगे. So इसीलिए deficient control environment. Second, deficient general IT controls. Next is deficient monitoring of controls. Monitoring of controls is also a part of or is also a component of internal controls. You should definitely retest the controls. Second is changes in the personnel. Now whatever personals were working before, they have changed. इस केस में हो सकता है ना कि काम गड़बड़ हो जाए, तो इसीलिए आपको चेक करना पड़ेगा. If there are significant changes in the personals, then definitely there may be chances of retesting of the controls. If the circumstances are changing, then also this indicates that there is a need for changes in the control which requires you also to retest the same. Next is manual element to relevant controls. There is a manual element to the relevant controls which is very significant. Definitely you should retest the controls because there are chances कि आपकी material misstatements भी हो सकती हैं, आपका internal control भी कहीं ना कहीं deficient हो सकता है. Now, substantive procedures, procedures which are designed and performed to detect the material misstatements is known as the substantive procedures. Now, it comprises of test of details and the substantive analytical procedures. Timing of substantive procedures की अगर हम बात करें तो when substantive procedures are performed at an interim date, the auditor shall cover the remaining period by performing the substantive procedures along with the test of controls for the intervening period. या फिर if the auditor determines that it is sufficient, तो further substantive procedures only need to be performed. In both these cases, you have to provide a reasonable basis for extending the audit conclusions from the interim date to the period end, right? Now, what are the special considerations? So, first of all, external confirmations as the substantive procedures. Now, in which areas are you going to take the external confirmation as the substantive procedure? So, if the auditor considers that the external confirmation procedures to be performed as a SAP, this will happen when the assertions related or associated with the account balances or their elements बेसिकली जब भी आपके अकाउंट बैलेंसेस से रिलेटेड या उनके एलिमेंट से रिलेटेड कुछ असर्शंस होती हैं, उस केस में एक्सटर्नल कन्फर्मेशंस जो हैं रेलेवेंट होती हैं. अब इसके बारे में कुछ सिचुएशंस अगर मैं डिस्कस करूँ तो जैसे कि आपको बैंक बैलेंस या फिर अदर इन्फॉर्मेशन से रिलेटेड चेक करना है कि वेदर इट इज़ एक्यूरेट, वेदर इट इज़ कंप्लीट, उसका वैल्यूएशन सही से हुआ है या नहीं. बेसिकली अगर मैं बैंक बैलेंस की बात करूँ तो आपने जो बैलेंस शो किया है वो एक्यूरेट है या नहीं, कंप्लीट है या नहीं, तो वो सब चीज़ चेक करने के लिए आपको क्या करना पड़ सकता है. हो सकता है आप अगर एक्सटर्नल कन्फर्मेशन अपना एज अ सब्सटैंटिव प्रोसीजर परफॉर्म करोगे तो आपको कन्फर्मेशन मिल जाएगी, ऑडिट एविडेंस मिल जाएगा. सो बैंक बैलेंस और अदर इन्फॉर्मेशन के केस में यू कैन गो फॉर एक्सटर्नल कन्फर्मेशन एज दी सब्सटैंटिव प्रोसीजर. सेकेंड इज द अकाउंट रिसीवेबल्स, व्हाट इज द बैलेंस लेफ्ट, व्हाट आर द टर्म्स. नेक्स्ट इज द इन्वेंट्रीज हेल्ड बाय थर्ड पार्टीज, इसके लिए भी आप एक्सटर्नल कन्फर्मेशन ले सकते हो. प्रॉपर्टी टाइटल डीड्स, amounts due to lender, accounts payable, their balances, the terms, the investments which have been held by the third parties for safekeeping or they have been purchased from stock brokers but they are undelivered till date. So for that also you can take the external confirmations. Now, what are the factors that assist the auditor while performing the external confirmation? So three things have to be seen, three factors have to be seen by the auditor to know whether he can go for external confirmation or not. First of all, he'll have to see the knowledge of confirming party of the information to be confirmed. ठीक है, if they do not have the requisite knowledge, the information is not reliable, then in that case you won't go for external confirmation. The second is the ability or willingness of the confirming party to provide the information. Now, if you think that the confirming party may not accept the responsibility or it will be too costly for him, it will be too time consuming, या फिर the accounting for transactions in different currencies is taking place, या फिर they operate in an environment in which they do not generally respond to such requests because it is not a significant aspect of their day-to-day operations, or you think that they might think of a potential legal liability which may arise in future, because of which they may be hesitant to share the information with the auditor. In such a case also you won't go for external confirmation. Next is the objectivity of the confirming party. If you think that the confirming party is a related party, then obviously you cannot be sure that the information or the confirmation provided by the related party can be trusted or not. So in this case also you won't go for external confirmation. So three factors are, the first one is the knowledge of confirming party about the information that you are looking for to be confirmed. Second one is the ability or willingness of the party from whom you are seeking information. Third one is the objectivity of the party. Next, substantive procedures with respect to significant risk. So auditor should design and perform the appropriate procedures with respect to specific risks which are responsive in nature. For example, risk relating to fraud, procedures as mentioned in SA 250, 240 may be applied. Why? Because it is specifically related to fraud, and for this we have a specific standard. Risk relating to subjectivity in management judgments with respect to accounting estimates, procedures as mentioned in 540 may be applied because we have a specific standard for the same. Substantive procedures with respect to closing process. Now for this you will have to reconcile the financial statements with the underlying records. For example, inventory is to be reconciled with the stock sheets, cash at bank is to be reconciled with the bank statements, etc. So this is the substantive procedure that you perform while doing the closing process, right? Examine the significant journal entries and the adjustments which have been made during the course of preparation of financial statements, right? Now, what will be the results of responses? Now, auditor concludes that the sufficient appropriate audit evidences are obtained. Auditor draws conclusion and issues an opinion in the form of audit report. We all know that. Now, if the sufficient appropriate audit evidence is not obtained, auditor should perform the additional procedures. Sufficient and appropriate audit evidence is not obtained, auditor needs to modify the opinion. Even after performing the additional procedures, if he is not able to gather the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences, then obviously he is going to modify the opinion. Okay, so for this I had also made a chart. Let's discuss it. If you think that the audit evidence is sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then you will see whether it provides you with the reasonable assurance that the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatements and have been prepared as per the applicable FRF or not. If you think that there are no material misstatements and it has been prepared as per the applicable FRF, then definitely you should give the unmodified opinion as per SA 700. But if you think that the audit evidences provide you with the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences, but the financial statements contain the misstatements and the management does not correct the misstatements that you have found, then you will have to evaluate the materiality, the misstatements, whether these misstatements are material or not. If you think the material misstatements are there, then you should go for qualified or adverse opinion as per SA 705. But if you think the material misstatements have been corrected by the management, then you will have to further reasonably assure yourself that yes, the material misstatements have been corrected and the financial statements have been prepared by them they have been prepared in all material respects as per the applicable FRF, then you should go for unmodified opinion. But if not, then qualified and adverse opinion. Now, next is, if you think that the audit evidences gathered are not sufficient and appropriate enough, then you will have to perform the additional procedures. Now, if you think by performing the additional procedures, you are getting the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences, then very good. You can definitely go for the first step, that is, you can see whether they provide you with the reasonable assurance or not, and so on. But if you think even after performing the additional procedures, you are unable to get or unable to obtain the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences, then definitely you should modify your opinion. You can give a qualified or disclaimer of opinion. Okay. So we are done with SA 330. Next standard is SA 320. SA 320, materiality in planning and performing an audit. So what is the concept of materiality? Materiality may be considered based upon a discussion which is given in the FRF. For example, in Schedule 3 of Companies Act 2013, share capital ka 5% or 1% of revenue from operations is given. Now, if in case the FRF does not provide a reference to materiality, then some principles may be considered to, set a materiality level. Okay, so any misstatements including omission will be considered as material if it can affect the economic decisions of the users of financial statements. So this is what we have considered as a principle to set the materiality level, because FRF does not specify any such materiality reference. Secondly, you can say that materiality is a subject of professional judgment and it depends upon the surrounding circumstances. Materiality of a transaction is to be considered both individually as well as in aggregate. it should be applied throughout the audit, that is during the planning stage as well as while performing the audit. During the planning stage, the auditor makes the judgment as to the nature, timings and extent of risk assessment procedures, what is going to be the nature, timing and extent of further audit procedures, how to identify and assess the risk of material misstatements. Now all such judgments involve the application of materiality. Let's talk about the performance materiality. We all know that performance materiality is an amount which is set by the auditor at less than the materiality for the financial statements as a whole, or for the account balance transactions disclosures, to reduce the audit risk to an appropriate low level which aggregates the uncorrected and unidentified misstatements which may exceed the materiality. So while you are doing so, you are setting the performance materiality to reduce the audit risk to an appropriate low level that aggregate of the uncorrected and unidentified misstatements may exceed the materiality. Now auditors consideration as to materiality की बात करें तो establishing the materiality is the first point, that is the auditor should establish the materiality for the financial statements as a whole, कि पूरे financial statements के लिए आपने एक materiality level set कर दिया. If required, considering the specific circumstances, the auditor may establish the materiality for the individual transactions also, या फिर individual account balances या फिर individual disclosures. If required, auditor may also determine establishing the performance materiality. If it is required, you can also determine the performance materiality so that you can reduce the audit risk to an appropriate low level, that the aggregate of uncorrected and unidentified misstatements may exceed the materiality. Now let's talk about the revision of materiality. Based on the observations during the audit, the auditor may consider the revision of materiality levels. Hence, the auditor may revise the materiality levels for the financial statement as a whole, or it can be materiality for individual transaction, account balance or disclosures, or there can be a revision of performance materiality. Any of these can happen while performing the audit, because while you will be performing the audit, you are going to observe some things while performing the procedures. So based upon that, you can definitely revise your materiality levels. Okay. Now let's talk about the documentation part. So auditor shall document the following. First of all, whatever you do, you have to document. Remember this. Okay. So materiality of financial statements as a whole, whatever materiality level you have set, you have to document the same. Materiality for the individual transaction, account balance and disclosures has to be documented. Whatever performance materiality you have set, that also needs to be documented. Okay. But we have studied that if we want, we can do the revision of materiality level. So any revision will also be required to be documented, and the reason should also be mentioned, like why are you revising the same. Use of benchmark in determining the materiality. So whenever you are determining the materiality, it is a matter of professional judgment. You all know that. Now what is benchmark? Benchmark is a percentage which is often applied to or we can say a chosen percentage. We apply a percentage to a benchmark. Okay, we have set a benchmark. This is the benchmark. Now we are going to apply a percentage to see that this is the starting point. Now this is my materiality level. This will be the materiality level for the financial statement as a whole. So applying the percentage to a benchmark is the actual starting point when you are determining the materiality levels for the financial statements as a whole. Now let's talk about the factors that may affect the identification of an appropriate benchmark. Okay, so what are the factors? How will you identify the appropriate benchmark? So first thing is elements of the financial statements like assets, liability, equity, revenue, expenses. Nature of the entity, what is the life cycle? What is the industry in which the entity is working, what is the economic environment. All these can be chosen as a benchmark. Second is whether there are items on which attention of the users of particular entities financial statement tends to be focused. For example, for the purpose of evaluating the financial performance, the users may tend to focus upon the profit, revenue, net assets. So these are some of the pointers, these are some of the items on which the focus of the users is generally there. Their attention is high on these areas. So definitely you can consider these as the appropriate benchmarks. Ownership structure and the way the company or the entity is financed is also one of the factors to identify the appropriate benchmark. For example, entity is financed solely by debt. So more emphasis of users will be on the assets. Entities earnings. Why? Because they'll have to repay the debt. Okay, so whether they have the adequate assets, whether their earnings are adequate enough to pay the debts. Next is relative volatility of the benchmark can also be considered as one of the factors to identify the appropriate benchmark. So this is all about SA 320. This is all about materiality concept. I hope you have understood the same. In fact, understanding part was already done. Here we are just revising. So I hope you have just got the gist of it and you are able to recall whatever you had studied. SA 402, audit considerations relating to an entity using these service organizations. Very easy essay. Now first of all, let's understand the applicability of SA 402. SA 402 applies when the auditor is auditing the financial statements of an entity which is availing the services from the service organization. So there are two entities involved. First entity in which you are doing the audit, and second entity is the entity who is providing services to the entity of which you are performing the audit. I hope you understand that. So you know the applicability of SA 402. इसके लिए आप कुछ टर्म्स दिमाग में रख लो जिससे कि आपको इजी होगा स्टैंडर्ड समझने में भी एंड पढ़ने में भी, एंड जो कीवर्ड्स होते हैं वो इसी के अराउंड रिवॉल्व होते हैं. बेसिकली वी यूज दीज वर्ड्स टू रेफर टू अ पर्टिकुलर एंटिटी और द ऑडिटर while understanding this particular standard. Okay. So what are these terms? First of all, the entity whose audit you are conducting as an auditor is known as the user entity. Okay, so this is the entity which is availing the services from a service organization, which is a third party organization. So the auditor of the user entity will be called as the user auditor, that is you, and the second entity's auditor, that is the service organization's auditor, will be called as the service auditor. Okay, this is clear. Now let's understand the objective of the auditor. Basically this essay is applicable, or this essay is referred to by the user auditor. Okay, because that is the auditor who is auditing the entity who is availing the services from the service organization. So here the user auditor reference is there and the user auditor's objective is talked about. So what is the objective of the user auditor? The objective is to obtain an understanding of the nature and significance of the services which are provided by the service organization and what is their effect on the user entity's internal controls which are relevant to audit sufficiently to identify and assess the risk of material misstatements. Also, you have to design and perform the audit procedures which are responsive to the risk, obviously. So this has to be done as an user auditor. Now, what are the matters on which user auditor requires understanding? So, what are these matters? Risk assessment procedure की बात हो रही है basically. What are the matters on which the user auditor requires understanding? So, first of all, the nature of services which are provided by the service organization. First of all, you have to identify the nature of services. Second is the significance of services provided by the service organization, because if they are significant, तो आपके प्रोसीजर्स उस तरीके से डिपेंड करेंगे, उस पर डिपेंड करेंगे. एंड इफ इट्स नॉट सिग्निफिकेंट तो उस केस में आपके ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स अलग होंगे. तो दैट इज वाई फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आइडेंटिफाई द नेचर ऑफ सर्विसेज. सेकंड, द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ सर्विसेज. थर्ड वन इज द नेचर एंड मटीरियलिटी ऑफ द ट्रांजैक्शंस प्रोसेस्ड बाय द सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. हाउ द ट्रांजैक्शंस आर बीइंग प्रोसेस्ड बाय द सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज द एरिया ऑफ कंसर्न. बाय बिकॉज वहाँ अगर प्रोसेसिंग गलत हो रही होगी तो भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है. Next, nature of relationship between the user entity and the service organization, like frequency of communications and all those things. Next is the degree of interaction between the activities of service organization and those of user entity, whether it is frequent or not. ठीक है. So what are the 5 points, the matters on which the user entity or user auditor requires understanding? So first one is the nature of services provided by the service organization. Second is the significance of services provided by the service organization. Third is the nature and materiality of the transactions processed by the service organization. The nature of relationship between the user entity and the service organization. Degree of interaction between the activities of service organization and those of user entity. Next is the auditor's considerations. First of all, user entity shall evaluate the design and implementation of the relevant controls that are exercised by the user entity over the service organization, because the user entity is availing the services from them. So what controls have they implemented? Next is, if the user auditor is unable to collect the information from the user entity, he may perform any of the following procedures. That is, he will either obtain type 1 report or type 2 report if available. Then he can also visit the service organization if he is permitted to do so. Third is contacting the service organization through the user entity. because directly he cannot do. Fourth one is using another auditor, that is the service auditor, to perform the procedures that are necessary to evaluate the controls at the service organization, to basically to relieve himself कि service organization पे कोई और audit कर देगा, जो procedures वो apply करना चाहता है as an user auditor वो किसी और से करवा लेगा. Next is information with respect to controls at the sub service organization. यहाँ पर service organization की भी एक और service organization आ गई, which is known as the sub service organization. तो यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है, user entity is availing the services from the service organization and the service organization is availing the services from the sub service organization. आउटसोर्सिंग हो रही है. नेक्स्ट, सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए अगर हम बात करें तो अब यहाँ पर सब सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से आप देखना आपको कि उन्होंने कैसे कंट्रोल्स लगाए हैं. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पर कंसर्न्ड एरिया पहला किसका आएगा, सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. तो ऑडिटर ऑफ सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और दी सर्विस ऑडिटर विल see whether the report includes or excludes the relevant internal controls, objective and related controls of the sub-service organization in SO's description of its system plus in SO's scope of engagement as an auditor. Now, what is the method of reporting? It can be inclusive or it can be carve out. Now, what do you mean by carve out? Inclusive के अंदर क्या होगा, सब सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की भी रिपोर्ट इंक्लूडेड होगी. कार्व आउट का मतलब क्या हो गया, इफ द सर्विस ऑडिटर अप्लाइज दिस एंड द सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय द सब सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन टू द यूजर एंटिटी आर रेलेवेंट टू इट्स ऑडिट, देन यू विल हैव टू अप्लाई द रिक्वायरमेंट्स ऑफ SA 402. किसको अप्लाई करनी पड़ेगी, सर्विस ऑडिटर को अप्लाई करनी पड़ेगी. क्यों, क्योंकि यहाँ पे सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन भी किसी की सर्विसेज ले रही है, तो यहाँ पर इस पर भी क्या हो जाएगा, यूज़र ऑडिटर बन जाएगा एक तरीके से. प्राइमरी हम देखें तो ये सर्विस ऑडिटर एक्चुअल में यूज़र ऑडिटर की पोजीशन पर खड़ा है, तो इसको भी क्या करना पड़ेगा, इसको भी SA 402 अप्लाई करना पड़ेगा टू सी वेदर नेसेसरी इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स हैव बीन इम्प्लीमेंटेड, क्या कंट्रोल्स लगाए हैं, कैसे उनका काम हो रहा है, वो सब चीज़ें उसको देखनी पड़ेंगी. नाउ NTE विल डिपेंड अपॉन द नेचर एंड सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ द सर्विसेज विच आर अवेल्ड फ्रॉम द सब सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. ठीक है, यहाँ तक तो बहुत इजी है ये वाला भी हमारे लिए. आगे बढ़ते हैं. रिस्पॉन्डिंग टू द असेस्ड रिस्क ऑफ मटीरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट. नाउ डिटर्मिन वेदर सफिशिएंट एंड एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंसेस विद रिस्पेक्ट टू फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट assertions are available from the records held at user entity. If they are there then very good, if not then you will have to perform the further audit procedures, या फिर you will have to use another auditor to perform those procedures at service organization. Why? Because there are no records available with the user entity. Next, audit procedures in case of fraud or non-compliance. You will have to inquire the user entity whether the service organization has reported any instances of fraud या फिर non-compliance with the law and regulations, या फिर there are uncorrected misstatements which affect the financial statements of the user entity. ऐसा तो नहीं है, मिस स्टेटमेंट्स उन्होंने करी है सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने, एंड उसका इफेक्ट कहाँ पर आ रहा है, यूज़र एंटिटी पर आ रहा है. तो क्या उन्होंने ऐसे कोई इंस्टेंसेस ऑफ फ्रॉड, नॉन कंप्लायंस वगैरह रिपोर्ट करे हैं या नहीं. नहीं करे तो कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं है, लेकिन अगर करे हैं तो यू विल हैव टू इवैल्यूएट द इम्पैक्ट ऑन दी नेचर, टाइमिंग एंड एक्सटेंट ऑफ योर फर्दर ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स इंक्लूडिंग योर कंक्लूजन्स एंड योर ऑडिट रिपोर्ट. Next, reporting by the user entity. If the user auditor is unable to obtain the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences regarding the services which are provided by the service organization, which are relevant to the audit of user entity, of course, then you will have to modify your opinion, either qualified or disclaimer of opinion, that will depend. But if you are unable to obtain the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences, so obviously you are going to go for modification of opinion. Now, if user auditor not to refer to report of service auditor unless and until it is required by law or regulation, you do not require to refer the report of service auditor in your report unless and until it is required by the laws or regulations. Now, important point, type 1 report and type 2 report. Now, what is the difference between a type 1 report and a type 2 report? Let's see. First of all, let's discuss, let me just give you a brief idea about the differences. Type 1 report के अंदर there is a report on description and design, of internal controls at the service organization. But it does not tell you whether these controls, internal controls are operating effectively throughout the year or not. So in the type 1 report, it is not mentioned that whether they are operating effectively or not, but in type 2 report there will be a description कि हाँ ये सारे internal controls हैं at the service organization and they are operating effectively during the year. So what do you think, what report is more reliable to you as a user auditor? Of course type 2 report is more reliable. Why? Because it is also telling you that the internal controls not only exist but they also operate effectively throughout the year. Clear till here? So this is the more this is the basically brief idea about or brief difference about the type 1 and type 2 report. The type 2 report gives you more reasonable assurance as compared to type 1 report. Let's just discuss type 1 report quickly. Type 1 report is a report on description and design of internal controls at a service organization. It comprises of description, which is prepared by the management of service organization of a service organization's system, the control objectives and the related controls that have been designed and implemented at a specified date. Specified date पर उन्होंने कौन से कंट्रोल्स को लगाया है, बनाया है, implement किया है. Next, also it will include a report by the service auditor. Objective क्या है? It will convey the reasonable assurance that includes the service auditor's opinion on the description of whatever has been provided by the management and suitability of the design of the controls to achieve the specified control objectives. Now if I talk about the type 2 report के अंदर there is a report on description and design and operating effectiveness of the controls at the SO. So it comprises of the description prepared by the management of the SO of SO system, control objectives and related controls that have been designed and implemented at the specified date or throughout a specified period, and in some cases their operating effectiveness throughout a specified period. Right? And a report by the service auditor that conveys reasonable assurance that includes all those things which have been prepared by the management, whether what is the opinion of the service auditor. Basically he is going to give that, and next he is going to also tell the suitability of the design and controls to achieve the specified control objectives and the operating effectiveness of controls. This is important, this is the difference. Operating effectiveness of controls and the description of service auditors, test of controls and the results thereof. I hope this is clear. So this is all about SA 402. SA 450, evaluation of misstatements identified during the audit. So here you are evaluating the misstatements that you have identified during the audit. So first of all you need to understand what do you mean by misstatement. तो बहुत easy सी language में अगर बोलूँ तो misstatement क्या होता है, जो करना था वो नहीं किया तो वो misstatement है. आपको FRF कुछ बोल रहा था और आपने कुछ और कर दिया actual में, तो the difference between the two is known as your misstatement. Now this difference can be with respect to your amounts, classification or presentation or disclosure. किसी भी way में हो सकता है, किसी भी फॉर्म में हो सकता है, उसको हम मिस स्टेटमेंट ही बोलते हैं. तो एक बार फटाफट से डेफिनेशन पढ़ लेते हैं. डिफरेंस इन द अमाउंट, क्लासिफिकेशन, प्रेजेंटेशन, डिस्क्लोजर ऑफ अ रिपोर्टेड फाइनेंशियल आइटम and the amount, classification, presentation, disclosure of that financial item as required by the FRF is known as a misstatement. Now misstatements can arise from both fraud or error. Any of the reasons can be there because of which misstatements can arise. Now misstatements can be caused due to or may be caused due to inaccuracy in the collection of data. The data that you collected is inaccurate, or you collected the correct data but the processing of which is done inaccurately. Any of these can be the reasons for misstatements. Or there is an omission of an amount or disclosure. You have omitted an amount, you did not present it or you did not disclose it. Okay, so this is also one of the reasons for misstatement. Wrong selection and application of an accounting policy, incorrect accounting estimates due to misinterpretation of facts, etc. So all these can be the reasons for misstatement. So आपको इसको याद करने के लिए एक easy तरीका है. Just think about a data coming into your system. You have to process it, you have to apply the policies, you have to apply the estimates, and after that you need to disclose the same. So एक ये बस एक लाइन याद रखना, डेटा आया, प्रोसेस हुआ, उस पर पॉलिसी एस्टिमेशंस लगाए एंड उसको डिस्क्लोज कर दिया. तो इससे आपको सारे के सारे पॉइंट्स रिकॉल हो जाएंगे जो इसमें लिख सकते हो आप. The reasons or the causes for misstatements. Now as an auditor, what are the procedures that you are going to perform when you find out the misstatements? So now in this case the auditor identifies the मिसेस स्टेटमेंट विच आर मटीरियल इन नेचर. इमटीरियल का कुछ करना है क्या? नहीं करना. वाई? बिकॉज इमटीरियल तो बहुत सारी हो सकती हैं. आप पूरा डिटेल्ड ऑडिट थोड़ी ना कर रहे हो, आप तो सैम्पलिंग बेसिस पर करोगे. तो उसके लिए आपको क्या करना पड़ता है? एक मटीरियलिटी लेवल सेट करना पड़ता है एज पर SA 320. तो उसी मटीरियलिटी लेवल को यू आर गोइंग टू यूज एंड यू आर गोइंग टू आइडेंटिफाई दोज मिसेस स्टेटमेंट्स विच आर मटीरियल इन नेचर एंड हैव अकर्ड नॉट ड्यू टू फ्रॉड. वाई नॉट ड्यू टू फ्रॉड? बिकॉज ड्यू टू फ्रॉड वाली यू विल कवर अंडर SA 240 में स्पेसिफिकली आप फ्रॉड से रिलेटेड मिसेस स्टेटमेंट्स को कवर करते हो. सो हेयर द प्रोसीजर्स आर गोइंग टू बी विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दोज मटीरियल मिसेस स्टेटमेंट्स which have occurred not due to fraud. Now in this case, what are you going to do? You are going to first of all determine whether any change is required in your audit strategy and audit plan. If yes, then you will have to follow the requirements of SA 300 that we have already covered. Now after that, you need to communicate to the management with the request for necessary correction, because there are material miss statements which are not due to fraud, which means there are errors, and if there are errors, you need to ask the management to change the errors, or you need to ask them to make the corrections. Now there can be two possible cases. First of all, either the management refuses or the management corrects. If the management corrects the same, तो बहुत अच्छी बात है. You are going to perform the additional procedures to make sure that whether the misses statements still remain in the financial statements or not. If you think that the misses statements have been corrected, then well and good, you are going to unmodify your opinion, because the financial statements are free from material misses statements, right? So in this case, as per SA 700, you are going to issue the unmodified opinion. But if the misses statements remain in the financial statements even after you have communicated the same to the management and they have already made the corrections one time, but still you find out that the misses statements still exist, then you are going to again ask them to make the necessary corrections. Now if they correct the same, then again you'll have to perform the additional procedures and so on and on and on. But if in case you think that the management has in the first instance only refused to make the necessary corrections, now what are you going to do first? You are going to understand why they are saying so. What are the reasons for not making the corrections? You are going to understand that first. Now after this, you are going to reassess the materiality as per SA 320, the revision of materiality, you remember, right? So reassess the materiality as per SA 320, and if you find out that the reasons that they are giving is not satisfactory, or the misses statements appear to be material, then there is no option. You have to communicate it to the TCWG as per SA 260. Why you are communicating to the TCWG? Because management is not listening to you. You tried to understand the reasons and you found out that the reasons are unsatisfactory, and also the misses statements are material in nature, so you cannot give the opinion as unmodified opinion. So you are going to communicate this fact to the TCWG, stating the uncorrected misses statement by the management and what is the possible effect that is going to have on your audit opinion, and you are going to request them to make the necessary corrections, because management is not doing so. Now if in case the TCWG gets it corrected, then of course you are going to perform the additional procedures to make sure that whether the material misses statements still exist or not. If they do not exist, तो बढ़िया है, बहुत ज़्यादा unmodified opinion दो, SA 700 के हिसाब से काम खत्म. But still if the corrections are not made, then in that case you have no other option. You have to modify the opinion as per SA 705, and you will have to obtain a WR from the management and TCWG with respect to the fact that they believe that the financial statements or the misses statements that are uncorrected are immaterial in nature according to them. Okay, so you will have to obtain a WR regarding the same, and this WR is as per SA 580. Okay, so this is all about SA 450. This is all done.
I hope this video could help you in some way. If it did, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Also, you can connect with me on a lot of social media platforms, links in the description box below. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and bye-bye.